This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call the Community Development Authority to order for Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kowski.
Here.
Keith Becky.
Here.
Gary
I'm here.
Okay.
You're cut off for a second, so I didn't know if you were talking to me or not.
No, we're good. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to
allegiance
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and please remember all the men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve as presented. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Action on minutes from the regular meeting of October 5th, 2021. I have no changes.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6A, presentation and discussion concerning the potential refinancing of the 2012 CDA lease revenue bonds. Mr. John Meehan from Barry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you first for coming out on a cold day and taking up the minutes as well as this matter. So appreciate your time. I'd like to walk through this presentation, but I encourage you to stop me and ask me any questions you have. As a little background on it, this relates to the Rush Center. And in 1999, seems so long ago, I was involved in the financing of the Rush Center. And that debt is a 30-year issue. So last maturity is 2029, which at the time, you're doing a 30-year issue. You're like, oh, that's a lifetime away, and it is. But we've hit different call dates. We've done different refundings, and we have the opportunity here to do a refunding of the debt that's outstanding purely for savings. We don't have to do anything, but it's an opportunity to experience some savings. We just completed a similar financing for the City of Green Bay Redevelopment Authority because they have a 2013 issue, now 2021 issue, that was issued to do the expansion of the convention center. So we were able to refund that debt for savings because, as I'm sure you've all heard, rates are really, really low. Now we'll see where they go. Right. Let me just walk through the pages. As far as an overview, Ashwaubenon CDA in 1999, and in this matter would serve as the issuer. There's no taxing power with the CDA, and there's no liability to the CDA. The CDA is referred to as a conduit issuer. What you do is consider an authorizing award sale resolution that allows the bond to go to marketplace under your name, but without any liability. And it clearly says in all the bond documents, we'll say in the offering documents, everywhere else in big, bold, black letters, don't look at us, right? Look elsewhere for your payments. Look elsewhere for your security. It would be very clear. To the point that the bond rating won't be your bond rating. It'll be a bond rating that refers to this debt, but it'll be a rating against Brown County, which is a AAA issuer. So that's the farther away from the CDA. The lease, as I mentioned, is Brown County. It's between Brown County and the CDA. And what the lease basically says is, as long as that facility is operating, the Rush Center, or has the ability to operate, we, Brown County, are responsible to make those lease payments. We have to make the payments every year. It's called a quiet enjoyment lease, as long as the county has access to Rush Center. I'd compare it to if you had an apartment somewhere and you didn't stay there, but you had an apartment in addition to your home. Doesn't matter. You have to pay rent on your apartment, even if you never stay there. Well, Rush Center is their apartment. They need to make the rent payments, the lease payments. So the county does make the lease payments. and this I'll get to it, is recognized in the rating report. The Green Bay Area Room Tax Commission, they'll be aware of this process. Like I said, we just did that refining for the Green Bay Redevelopment Authority. Through that process, we went before the Green Bay Room Tax Commission, made them aware of it, showed them their savings, because it is a collection of room taxes which support the debt service. The security is Brown County. The room taxes help support the debt service. And the room taxes come from the 7 municipalities, as they have all along. The room taxes flow through to the trustee. The trustee washes out a waterfall. The first dollars of the room taxes, after administrative costs, etc., goes to support these 2012 bonds and the 2016 RDA bonds, City of Green Bay RDA bonds, which was also originally issued in 1999. Those were companion issues back in 1999. They both expire in 2029. Okay. Next page. As I mentioned, on the room tax flow, we have the municipalities across the top. The waterfall comes down. It gets to the trustee associated bank, what we call the room tax administrative fund. As the room taxes are collected, the associated then divides up the funds between the 2012 bond fund to make those payments. And now it says 2006, but it's really 2016 RDA bonds. It's pro rata based on the amount of debt that's outstanding that they make that division. And they provide funds for principal and interest on June 1 every year, and interest on June and December every year. As it continues to flow through, it drops into what's called the room tax stabilization fund. At this point in time, there's, I think, a little over $6 million in the room tax stabilization fund. But out of that, the threshold is $5 million. That $5 million, 2.08 of it, 2.8 of that $5 million is actually assigned to your issue as security to the 2012 bonds. And the 2.2 is assigned as security to the City of Green Bay 2016 bonds. So that's how the $5 million. The fact that there's extra money is because before that we had the 2019-2020 economic hit. The room taxes were coming in over $5 million a year to support $3.6, $3.7 million of debt service. So the waterfall I referred to is the trustee gets the money, fills up the buckets to make the debt service payments, dumps it into the room tax stabilization fund, which is then available after the $5 million. The county is able to access it and make up any shortfalls that they may have on debt service. Okay. Next page. The history of the Rush Center is, as I said, 1999, we did a bond issue which was laid out to support the construction of the facility. In 2002, we took advantage of interest rates and reduced some of the interest costs. 2012, you'll notice in the description, we went from a tax-exempt debt issue, which was the 1999, 2002 issues, to a taxable issue in 2012. As you could expect, over time, there's changes in tax laws. And part of the changes in tax laws is that the management contract that's in place to operate the Rush Center would trip up tax-exempt bonds. So we waited to a point where we're able to do a tax-exempt 10-year issue, but because the management contract, the 10-year call date, 2012, but because of the management contract, we had to do it a taxable issue. So in 2012, we did it taxable, once again for savings, but because we did a 10-year call date. Well, now where we are is in 2022. Hard to believe we're in 2022, but in 2022, we're doing another taxable refunding, like 10-year call date, the lower interest cost. We're not extending the debt. The debt always was going to expire in 2029 and will still expire in 2029 under this plan. As I mentioned, the bonds are rated. The way Moody's rates their debt is they look at the obligor, the county, and they just recently, in October this year, assigned the county their rating for a debt issue they were into. But the county has a AAA rating. But for this issue, because it's not a general obligation property tax supported debt issue, okay, it's a lease supported, it's always notched down. So these bonds that are outstanding, the 2012 and now the 2022, will be rated AA2. We're pretty confident, pretty comfortable about that, because in October they were rated AA2. Because when Moody's assigns a rating, they look at other debts that are outstanding. It goes back to my comment earlier about how this is really a county issue. That Moody's, when they assign the rating for the county general obligation issue, says, oh, and also there's this 2012 Ashwaubenon CDA debt that's outstanding. That's their responsibility. So that's how it's assigned the rating. That's why we know it's going to be AA2. We consider this the primary debt that's supported by the room taxes. On the left side, that's the debts outstanding at the moment, which is the 2012 bonds. The green boxes, that just means that's the callable maturities. So the maturities 23 on out are callable as of June 1 of 22, and we're taking advantage of hitting the call date. But we're going to refund the issues. Those maturities right now are from 3.6 to 4.25%. And because we're within such a short time frame, this is really a 7-8 year maturity here we're talking about, the rates are much lower. Now, taxable bond rates really track the U.S. Treasuries, because buyers of the bonds, investors in those bonds, say, I could buy a U.S. Treasury and sleep well at night. So I know the Treasury. I can go right now. You can Google and see where the Treasury rate is. I can sleep well at night. So I'm going to buy these, which are lease revenue bonds that are AA2. I'll expect something plus the Treasury. So if the 10-year Treasury right now, I'm making this up, is a 1.4%, they'll say, okay, but I want a 2.4. I want some protection, something to pay me for the risk I'm taking in buying this debt. But even at that stage, we're talking about a good drop from the current rates. The next issue to the right is the 2016 Convention Center issue for Green Bay. As you can see, both of the debt issues have a final maturity in 2029. Beyond these two issues, there is the KI expansion, which was done in 2013, now refunded in 2021, and that goes out to 2043. And there's the expansion of the Expo Center. So, that which the CDA issued back in, I think, 2019. Tony sort of scratched his head. It's all goes together. That is outstanding, but that's third in line in the waterfall. So the primary flow of room taxes support these two debt issues. Next page. Just focusing on the 2012 CDA bonds, you can see what we're doing is taking out the 23 through the 29 maturities. That's why there's that big space right in the middle. And inserting new 23 through 29 maturities. And after all the costs that is put into place, coming to the right side and the saving, it says $170,000 per year, something like that. We won't know till we do it, but that gives you an idea of the kind of savings we're looking at. The issue that we undertook for the City of Green Bay 2013 refunding issue saved, I think it was about $350 a year. It went out a lot longer, it was a lot bigger, at different interest rates, etc. It produced a great deal more savings because this is a different issue. It's half the size, etc. If we're able to accomplish it at these levels, the end result will be that within the year we were able to reduce as Mario said, saving money, we were able to reduce the impact of about $500,000 a year of debt service. I know it doesn't run to the CDA. It's really sort of a community good is how it flows. a summary of the refinancing itself. The issue size is approximately $16,590,000 because it's determined when we get there. And by when we get there, it's probably March. We'll be coming back to this group and asking for an award of that sale. The work can be done to get there, but right now, targeting March 15th. Target date. It's about that size. There's no room tax stabilization fund being applied. Remember, we talked about the $2.8 million that's there right now, identified with the 2012 bonds. Well, it stays there. The $2.2 million that applied to the Green Bay RDA issue, those stay there. So we're not applying a room tax stabilization fund. The approximate debt service for this issue is about $2.8 million a year. The issue that we have outstanding now. Reducing the debt service about $170 a year, plus or minus. Gross savings $1,360,000. You present value that back. And the reason you present value it back is you don't experience that all day one. You experience that 170 over the life of the issue. So for present value, you say, well, yeah, what does it mean today though? Why? Because when you have the net present value of savings, industry standard, you want to be more than 2% if you're going to go through the process. And you're closer to 8%. It's right now, where the rates are, it works very nicely. Next page. As far as timing, as I mentioned, it's $16,590,000, but it's subject to change as we continue to work through the math. The rating, it's going to be AA2. I have no reason to believe that's going to be any different than it was in October. There's no new information to the rating agencies. Because of the management contracts that are in place, these will be federally taxable, but they're state tax exempt because the CDA as an issuer issues debt that's exempt from state income taxes. Usually the buyers don't care, but that's just an added little benefit there. If there was a double exempt fund or state exempt fund that wanted to buy the bonds. The room tax stabilization fund stays at $2.8 million. And I list the timing as first quarter 2022. We will begin with an organizational call next week. We get the attorneys on the phone, representatives from the village on the phone, and start laying out timing, laying out responsibility, and moving forward. All in all, I think it should run very smoothly. We just went through this for the Green Bay RDA issue, but there's work that has to be done, and it is subject to interest rate risk. Right now, the Treasury rates are back down. I'm using older rates a little bit higher. That's fine, but we're 90 days away, so we'll see. I'll be happy to answer any questions we may have.
Do you anticipate those rates staying low for the next 90 days? What is the parents feeling?
Yeah, I think so. But you have to separate the taxable from tax exempt. If this is tax exempt, I could have a different view because it would be both federal and state exempt, which are very attractive. But the fact that it's such a sharp maturity, the risk isn't as great as to the 20-year debt issue. We're within 10 years. I think it all goes to, as we watch treasuries, we watch this as they bounce around. But there's a lack of supply out there. And so, I think we have a luxury of saying, keeping it in contact with Joel, as far as timing of when your committee meets, et cetera, and trying to be flexible in that regard for proper numeracy. But yeah, we're gonna move on this. We're not gonna let it lay. I don't like to think I'm smarter than the market and say, well, gee, if I wait to June, what? So.
Any other questions?
I appreciate this is a lot of information, and what we will ask is to come back before you at March, whatever it is, with the award information, the sale information, and today's purpose was really to inform you, make you aware of this, because I don't know how public it gets, but it'll be moving along. And we'll be looking for you for future action.
Is this what this timeline is on these last two pages? On where it's gonna go?
Yeah, you can see there's a lot of conference calls and different things. A lot of it is I like to have, Tony remembers this from when we did this with past issues, is to lay out the timeline. If we cancel, we cancel. But when it's 9 o'clock, the call starts. You know, everybody's there. I just don't want those attorneys all coming in and delaying things.
With all due respect.
No. So.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Meehan? Comments? Okay.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank you
coming
very
out.
much, John.
Full afternoon. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we don't have to take any action on that, right? It's just presentation. Okay. Okay, number 7, items for next agenda. Do we have anything for,
We're still, we still have odds and ends to finish up with the expo yet, as far as just some outstanding expenditures.
okay,
Once we get those wrapped up, we'll bring forth the full accounting to the CDA for review.
okay? Okay, so then I need, there's no other comments, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion and a
Second.
second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried. We're done.